The following may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Teenager Kareem Ali dies in freak accident. A tragic accident has claimed the life of Kareem Ali, 16, of Jajasar Street, Aranguez, just 10 days after his birthday, leaving his family and community in shock. Ali's head was between the gate of his home and a pole installed to catch it if it fell. He was attempting to close the gate around 9:45 a.m. yesterday behind his father after they returned home from signing him up for a cricket class in Felicity. The gate now is have stone in the tracks, so when he pull it hard, it jump off the track. It's a big heavy gate. It's almost 12 feet. And he head get pinned between the I-beam and the gate, and it end up his head and end up his father, Rashad Ali, 38, recounted. His mother, Nalini Chunilal, 38, said she heard his screams while doing laundry behind their home. I just hear the screaming, so with the scream now I thinking is bandits, so I looking to run the opposite direction, only to run out and see they driving out with the van, and I see the gate fall on him, she said. Ali's father said he immediately called relatives who live on the compound and neighbors to assist with removing the gate. Kareem Ali was pronounced dead at hospital. He only turned 16 on the 1st of this month and he's a child. I didn't give him anything. All I bought is a cake and he was humble with that. That make he day. He never a greedy child. A child to ask for anything. Whatever you give him, he always humble, his mother said. One relative blamed Ali's death on the gate's safety feature being installed too far away from it. The gap appeared to be roughly 1 foot away from the track. The relative believes it needed to be closer to 2 inches away to immediately catch the gate without the possibility of someone getting caught between it. Despite this, Ali's father, a farmer, is left blaming himself. This was the only morning I take off from the garden to carry him to register because I always working 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sometimes I only eat 1 doubles for the day, just trying to make ends meet, trying to work my garden just for he alone, because it's 1 son I have. I'm trying to provide everything for him. I guess like I wasn't successful enough to make him happy, so I just don't know what wrong I must be do, he said. Despite his son's tragic end, his father said their day together was memorable. First morning I spent with him, he made me laugh, he made me happy. We went all about and he made me happy because right through is only work for me, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., he said. Kareem was a Form 4 student at the Vishnu Boys Hindu College, studying modern studies. His parents said he wanted to work with animals. His family is still completing all legal requirements before setting a date for his funeral. Teenager Rosie Esau is missing. Esau, 16, of Isaac Trace, More Diablo, Pinal, was last seen on July 7. The police is seeking the public's assistance in locating her. Anyone with information can call the Pinal police station at 647-8888. The police can also be reached at 999-555-911, 800 tips, through any police station, or a report can be made via the TTPS app. Laborer and 17-year-old charged with the homicide of Venezuelan national. A teenager and a laborer have been charged with the homicide of Venezuelan national Andres Lopez. Lopez, 24, was following a robbery at a food cart in Princesstown on June 28. He died 2 days later at hospital. Joseph Aguilera, 26, a laborer, and a 17-year-old boy, both of Rancho Quemado, who were arrested on the day of the homicide, are expected to have the charges read to them as they appear virtually before a Princesstown magistrate on Monday. They are also expected to face 3 robbery allegations and charges for possession of firearm and ammunition and possession of these to endanger life. The charges were laid by Sergeant Duku following advice from Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Joan Honor Paul. A post to the police social media page stated, "The investigation was spearheaded by Acting Superintendent Sean Dilpaul and ASP Prasad and was supervised by Acting Sergeant Forbes of the Homicide Bureau of Investigations Region 3. The investigation was launched by the HBI together with officers of the Southern Division." Veteran sports photojournalist dies in cycling accident. Veteran sports photographer Anthony Harris has died. Harris succumbed to injuries sustained after being hit by a car while riding his bicycle around the Queen's Park Savannah, Port of Spain on Saturday morning. Harris's daughter, Charisse, confirmed her father's passing on Sunday morning by posting to social media. It read, "I regret to inform everyone that our loving sweetheart of a father, Anthony Harris, has passed. We will inform everyone of the funeral arrangements when they are available. Please understand that we are grieving and kindly give us time to process this loss," she wrote. Tributes poured in on social media in memory of the long-standing photographer. The TT Cycling Federation sent condolences to his family via Facebook. It read, "We are greatly saddened by this situation and pray for continued strength. We thank Anthony for his service to the Cycling Federation over the years. May he rest in peace." Other sports-related media such as Richard Leiter Photography and TNT Sport Diary, among others, offered words of support to the family via different social media platforms. On Saturday afternoon, a family member said that Harris had undergone brain surgery following the accident and was in dire need of blood. A report was also made to the Belmont police station. Lawless weekend leaves 7 men erased and 8 others injured, including 2 children, in separate incidents. Gun violence over the last 72 hours have claimed the lives of 7 men and left 8 others, including 2 children, injured. Police in Central, Arima, Port of Spain, Laventille, Diego Martin, and Sangre Grande were called to action between Thursday night and 2 p.m. Saturday to respond to instances of shootings. In the latest incident, which occurred at Kelly Village, Coroni, shortly after 2 p.m., 4 people were. A businessman identified as Narendra Sinanan, also called Scars, was erased and 3 others were wounded in the attack. According to a police report, Sinanan was washing his van in front of his home at Airport Boulevard when 2 armed men alighted from an approaching car and opened fire on him. Sinanan ran inside his home in a failed bid to escape the armed assailants who pursued him and opened fire on him several times. Police said his neighbor and his 2 children, ages 7 and 8, were also wounded. The assailants escaped in a waiting vehicle. The 4 victims were taken to the Mount Hope Hospital, where Sinanan succumbed to his injuries. The other 3 victims are hospitalized in stable condition. Police said 33 spent shells comprising of 5.56 and 9mm rounds were recovered at the scene. At Picton Extension in Sangre Grande on Friday night, assailants opened fire on a group of people liming outside a house, leaving one man dead and 3 others hospitalized. Police have identified the dead man as Rondell Joseph, who died yesterday morning while undergoing emergency surgery. Another man, identified as Samyam Thompson, is in critical condition at hospital, while 3 others are hospitalized in serious but stable condition. And in a daring move, 2 men were repeatedly just outside the interagency task force at Fort Chacon Base, Picton Road, Laventille on Friday night. Police said Nigel Dewberry, also known as Mokin of Desprez Drive, Laventille, and Sandfield Allers, known as Oos of Picton Road, Laventille, were repeatedly around 7:30 p.m. According to police reports, Dewberry and Allers were standing near Pepe's shop at the corner of Desprez Drive and Picton Road, Laventille, when a silver Nissan Almera drove up and 2 armed men alighted and opened fire on them. Both suspects fled in the waiting vehicle heading north along Picton Road. Officers of the Interagency Task Force, led by AG Sergeant Wayne Primedes, took the 2 injured men to the Port of Spain General Hospital, where they were declared dead on arrival at 7:55 p.m. Acting Sergeant Paris, along with Acting Sergeant Matthew of the Beeson Street Police Station, were among the officers of Visited Homicide Bureau Region 1. In an unrelated incident, officers of the Northeastern Division and the Homicide Bureau are investigating 2 homicides which happened in 2 separate incidents between Thursday night and Friday morning. In the first incident, officers of the Northeastern Division Task Force received a report of explosions at Butt Street, San Juan at around 9:47 p.m. and visited the area, where they found Kevin Dewberry, 24, bleeding from wound. Police rushed Dewberry to the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex, where he was declared dead. Hours later, at around 2:45 a.m. on Friday, police received a report of loud explosions in Tonkabeen Hill. Investigators said revenge was a motive for the homicide of 20-year-old Jesse Ramcharan at his home in Tonkabeen Terrace, Kentaro Village, Santa Cruz. Police officers went to the URP worker's home at around 2:55 a.m. following reports of and found his body in a room on the western side of the wooden house. Homicide CSI personnel recovered 17 7.62 spent shell casings, 15.40 caliber casings, 8 metal objects, and 5 deformed projectiles at the scene. A district medical officer visited the scene and declared Ramcharan dead. Police said up to Friday morning they had no information to suggest that the 2 homicides were related. The Arima police are investigating an incident which took place at Jacob Hill Wallafield on Friday night, where 5 people were and a man identified as Isaiah Pritchard, also called Project, was in the head at Gukol Street, Diego Martin. He's currently listed in critical condition at hospital. Police did not provide any further information on these 2 incidents. PCA investigates alleged extrajudicial homicide. Both the Police Complaints Authority and the police are investigating the circumstances in which Fabian Richards, 21, Leonardo Williams, and Isaiah Roberts, both 17, were erased. 3 other young men who were passengers in the vehicle have been released from custody. Police claim the men were being pursued from Cocorite and they tried to escape by driving along a one-way on Independence Square before crashing into Republic Bank at the corner of Chacon Street, where they were erased. Police claimed a gun was found in the vehicle. Man pleads guilty to assault, kidnapping, and homicide of 2 female cousins and a taxi driver. A man initially on over a dozen indictments for the homicide and assault of a 19-year-old girl and the assault of her cousin and the robbery and false imprisonment of a corrupt taxi driver in 2008 will be sentenced in July. Keston Chucky Allen, 35, was allowed to plead guilty to 10 counts of felony homicide, false imprisonment, robbery with aggravation, grievous assault, larceny of a car, and assault, which he did on Friday. He returns to court on July 29, when it is likely that he will be sentenced by Justice Lisa Ramsamar Hines, who has ordered biosocial and probation officers' reports to assist in his plea of mitigation, which will be submitted in writing and to guide her in the sentencing process. It is the state's case that Allen and 3 others accosted the taxi driver in St. Augustine on October 19, 2008, and ordered him to drive. The incident began at 12:30 a.m. when the taxi driver was leaving a party and offered a woman a lift home. It turned out that the woman was Allen's accomplice, since he and the other man entered the car, and she said they were with her. The taxi driver was ordered to drive, and 15 minutes later they saw 2 cousins and he was ordered to stop. The cousins were robbed of their cell phones and cash and then were bundled into the stolen taxi and taken to an abandoned house in the Mount Lambert area, where the girls begged to be released. At that house, the teenager was assaulted and told she was a waste of time after the act. Her cousin, who was 22 years old at the time, despite experiencing that time of the month, was also assaulted. Allen and his accomplices also forced one of the girls to perform copulation on the taxi driver, who later managed to escape and find his way to the St. Joseph police station. Allen and his accomplices went in search of the taxi driver, but were unable to drive his vehicle because it was a manual. When they got to the Mount Dore Camp Fleurs area, when police found the car, the teenager was deceased, while her cousin received wounds to the body but survived the ordeal. Allen was later arrested and identified by the 2 surviving victims. Allen entered plea discussions with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and on June 22, it was agreed he would plead guilty to the 10 counts while he will be discharged of the others. On Friday, prosecutor Daniel Thompson said the state agreed to a starting point sentence of 22 years for kidnapping and 25 for the assault. She also gave the state's position on the other counts. The count of felony homicide will be at the discretion of the judge. Also at the hearing, Thompson read from the victim impact statements of the deceased teenager's mother, the other victim who was also assaulted, and an aunt, and the taxi driver. The cousin spoke of her ordeal and said her younger cousin did not deserve to die like that. The mother of the 19-year-old said her daughter's death was traumatic. The teenager was her only daughter, and she was so torn by her death that she did not want reminders of her at home and gave away her things in an effort to cope with her loss. She said her daughter's intention was to attend university and was at the time of the incident doing hairdressing to save for her further studies. "I real miss her," she said. She said she still breaks down in tears at Christmas time. "I know nothing I can do can bring her back, but I just want justice for her, as all I have of her is her memory." The taxi driver said he too was traumatized and did not work for a year because he was afraid the men who abducted him would find him. "I could have lost my life," he said. The girl's aunt, who also provided a victim impact statement, said it seemed that God had answered the family's prayers when Allen was arrested. Representing Allen was public defender Michelle Gonzalez.